Okay, so here we are. We're going to push out the rocker roller pins on the 640. This is the setup I'm going to use. It's a C-frame press, and you can also use a vise or just rig up any kind of thing to press it out. Even a C-clamp may work, you know, a smaller C-clamp, but I like this because it stands up and down. You don't have to try to hold everything until you get tension on it, whereas in a vise it's going to try to drop out on you and it'll be harder to line up. So I'll just do a little demonstration of this in a second. Okay, so here we have our roller. You can see I want to push this shaft out. I've got this for my pin. It's going to push down on the roller, and I have a socket on top of the press so that it'll drop into the hole. So I gotta back this up a bit. Okay, so I place that and center it over the drop zone and tighten down the ram on it. Oh, I've got to center it a little bit better. Make sure it's all lined up. Okay, and that should be good to go. So when I tighten this, it should push it out. There it goes. A little bit of force. Slack it a bit. Make sure it can drop right through. A little more force. There it goes. So now I'm going to loosen this. Take it out. So that wouldn't have lasted much longer, so it's a good thing took it apart. Next thing I'll do is I'll show you how to put the new shaft in and pin it so it stays in place. Okay, so here we are. We've got the new bearing. So you can see there's a nylon bushing in the center, and then the new pin, and you've got the rocker arm. This is the intake one. This is the one that always wears out. The size of the bearing is substantially smaller than the exhaust. You can see in the bag there, so it wears way quicker. I've never actually had an exhaust roller wear out. I had once where the pin dropped out of the shaft, but that's been the only thing. Okay, so you take this roller and the rocker arm, you set the roller in place, line up, and then push. You might have to move it around, but you got to push that nylon bushing out of the middle. And that bushing is just there to hold the needles in place while you're pushing the pin in. Takes a little bit of pressure to get it there. It's out now. Okay, so there's the bushing, and here's the pin in place. Now you notice the pin slides back and forth, so we're going to do the pining to flare the end of the shaft so it locks the pin in place. And what it'll do is when you drive the center punch, each time you drive the center punch, it moves the metal on the end over. kind of flares it out, and if you put enough punches in, it'll flare it enough, it'll hold it in place. So I'll grab my trusty hammer and lay this thing into the try to hold it in place there. You need almost 6 hands to do this, but just lay the punch in, make sure everything is tight. Once the punch is where I want it, just take and give it a whack. There's your first debit. Now I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now I'm going to turn it over again. I'm going to take this plastic guard off the... See, with two dimples, it's already flared out enough that it won't move. Another mark. Another mark. Another mark. Another mark. Okay, you can see a whole bunch of holes in there. Next step is to get some oil into the bearing. So there you have it. There's the one done. That's ready to go back in. Or actually, I have it for a spare for the next time I have to change it. It's ready to go, so I don't have to worry. But when you put these things away, you got to make sure you leave a lot of lube on them so they don't rust. And the same will go for the exhaust roller, which is bigger. So it's basically gonna be the same thing, fit on, push the pin through. First I'm gonna make sure the pin fits fairly snug in there. It does in that end, it does in that end, so it's all good. There it comes. Okay, flat on my anvil. Once, twice, 3, 4, flip it over. Once, twice, 3, Anyways, you get the idea. It's pretty simple, you know. The hardest part is getting the pins pressed out, and even that's not bad. Once you get a technique, it's fairly easy. The exhaust roller is 60 to 80,000. The intake being smaller, I get about 40,000. And they're shot, so sort of a guideline of when to change it. 60 to 80,000 is good for the big one. And that's it.